Thank you very much for the opportunity. My name is Jeremiah Sixtus Dery. I work with the Ghana Statistical Service. I am a statistician and a demographer. Currently, I am the regional statistician for the Upper West region of Ghana. I am delighted to be part of this program. I am going to walk through Ghana's approach to data collection during the pandemic and to share with you some statistics about Ghana, focusing particularly on older people. This, I believe, will stimulate some discourse on how we build forward for older persons post-COVID-19. Like many other African countries, data on older people remains a challenge, particularly because population aged remains a small proportion of the larger population, and therefore no much attention is placed on it. Nonetheless, for us to effectively respond to the needs of the people, particularly older persons post-COVID, it is imperative to understand the challenges they are currently facing, because as it is often said, understanding the problem is half the solution. During the pandemic, Ghana's approach to data collection on the aged was a mixed approach, combining data from routine surveillance and that of modern forms of data collection, particularly through computer-assisted telephone interviews. What you see currently is a typical view of Ghana, of data from Ghana Health Service COVID-19 dashboard, reporting routine surveillance data on confirmed cases and deaths. Data on cases are compiled from reported cases at health facilities, laboratories, and from contact tracing from people who has come into contact with an infected person. This is done by the Ghana Health Service, and as we speak, data exists by age groups and sex. In addition to data from the routine surveillance, Ghana Statistical Service with support for the Ministry of Health, Environmental System Research Institute, Global Partnership for Sustainable Development Data, Department of Geography and Regional Planning of the University of Cape Coast, and case records taken from the Ghana Health Service Data Hub and monitoring dashboards. A data hub and monitoring dashboard was developed. These platforms were built to provide real-time information on the distribution of cases and provide data and documentation on risks and vulnerability factors aggregated at the district levels, particularly distribution of persons 60 years and older per square kilometer and mean number of households per district with at least one smoker. Also, to measure and monitor the impact of COVID-19, a series of rapid surveys, dubbed COVID-19 tracker surveys, was carried out with the support from partners such as UNICEF and the World Bank, and with technical support from Innovation for Poverty Action (IPA), to measure the impacts of businesses on businesses, which we call the business tracker, on local economy, which we call the local economic tracker, and particularly on households and job, dubbed household and job tracker. Permit me now to focus a little more on the household tracker and share with you some interesting findings about older adults. As a background, the household tracker survey was designed to measure the extent to which the coronavirus alleviation program and other micro interventions, as well as individual and household behavioral responses, dampened the effects of the pandemic. The survey comprised two models, focusing on the effects on the household as a unit, which is Model A, and intra-household changes, which is Model B, with particular focus on children. Samples was drawn from the most recent Ghana Living Standard Survey, that is around 7. Samples are nationally representative, covering all 16 regions of the country. A computer-assisted telephone interview was used for data collection. At this point, I would like to present some highlights of the Household Tracker Survey. What we currently see is a snapshot of the impact of COVID-19 on livelihood and healthcare, particularly for older persons in Ghana. As you see from the diagram, households with older persons 60 years and older as respondents were the hardest hit in terms of being unable to buy medicine in the last 7 days prior to the survey, compared to other age groups who served as respondents. Again, here you observe that households with an older person as a respondent seem generally less food insecure. However, a closer look at the data would show that they had to make do with eating only a few kinds of foods, or were unable to eat healthy and nutritious foods, or they ran out of food entirely. A closer look at the graph with the highlighted portions showed that as much as 42.7% of households with older adults are respondent reported they ate only few kinds of food. Of particular interest are households that ran out of food completely, comprising 29.7% of households with an older person as a principal respondent for the survey. Considering coping strategies of households during the pandemic, the strategies used by older respondents were to depend on assistance from friends and family. As you observe from the graph, 44.3% of households with an older person as a principal respondent reported having to receive assistance from friends and families as a coping strategy during the pandemic. Again, 16.7% of households with older persons as respondent reported as a coping strategy they had to sell their assets to survive, and 7.3% reported having to sell their harvests in advance as a collateral for survival during the pandemic. These coping strategies are critical and should be considered in our discourse. Because of the lack of time, these are but a few data highlights on older adults that I will present, and I hope they would stimulate discussion on how we build forward for older adults post-COVID-19. As a concluding thought, for us to have a broad understanding of issues that confront older adults during the pandemic, in order to offer solutions to them going forward, it is critical that we understand the issues more broadly. And among the issues I raise that should be seriously considered are the access to medicine, food security, and some survival issues or techniques developed by households with older persons as respondents during the pandemic. These are critical survival issues, and the extent to which we work to alleviate these are critical, particularly looking at social security and family support for older adults. Generating timely, good quality and age-disaggregated data to inform policy and program response is critical if we have to fully understand the issues confronting people, particularly older adults. To this end, I suggest and encourage that we harness both administrative and big data, and most particularly, integrate these into our traditional data sources. Thank you for your attention, and I wish you all the best.